What is up, everyone? Out here on the river again. Finally, winter's over, spring is in. Hopefully we'll get on some huge smallies. I hear the fishing's been good lately. Let's get on them. So this video, I'm going to walk you through how I break down rivers. Big thing about rivers is you are looking for these river eddies. So you see how the water comes down next to these rocks over here, and on this side of the rocks, it kind of comes over the rocks there a little bit. They have the flowing water, and then it kind of swirls in here after it gets past these rocks. Well, this is an eddy, and what these bass like to do, they like to get in here in the calmer water. They still have all the oxygen from the disturbed water, like all this water coming over the rocks and around the rocks generates a ton of oxygen in the water. That gives them a lot more oxygen so they can be more active. And then the eddy gives them a place to set up. Not just the bass like the extra oxygen in the water, but the bait also like that. So it's a good place to find the bass as well as the bait. That's why the bass are here. And if bait gets washed over or around the rocks, then, you know, it might bang its head on the rocks or just be a little bit disoriented, or just go right in front of the bass who's sitting there, and it's easy pickings, easy meal for the bass. So that's why they like to hang out on these river eddies. There might be smallies that are still spawning, maybe still on beds, but that's all right, because even when they're on beds, they're super aggressive. They're not like largemouth where you have to, you know, kind of play with them. You gotta kind of tick them off into finally getting your bait good. You know, otherwise they'll just, a lot of times, just pick it up by the tail. Smallies will still hammer stuff while they're on the beds, because they're just such an aggressive species of bass. All right, nothing yet. So what I got here, I've got the donkey rig rigged up with some super flukes. And it's actually a more like super fluke juniors, but they're ones that I actually mold myself, which are thinner than even the super fluke juniors that you can buy in the store. So I have a incredibly good hookup ratio with them, and that's why, just because the thinner plastic, and also the thinner plastic gives it less water resistance, so it kind of sinks a little bit quicker, doesn't rise quite as easily, so I can work it quicker without, you know, getting it up above the water, and just really work it. I'm just twitching the end of my rod tip, make those super flukes dart around. Here, I can show you in the water, and it looks like two bait fish just kind of schooling around each other, and, you know, maybe one chasing the other, maybe trying to mate, get their spring mating season on. Because after the bass spawn, all the bait fish spawn, your shad, your bluegill, and the bass love that time of the year, because when the bait fish are looking to spawn, they don't have much else, especially not their personal safety, on their mind. So they are easy pickings for a bass. Still got this disturbed water around me, so I'm working this up in the, you know, mostly in the top of the water column. I'll give it a pause, let them sink a little bit, just in case anything's following it. Then it, you know, it's darting away from them, and then it suddenly stops as they're coming up behind it, then it's right in their face. And that's a great way to get a reaction bite. And just play with your cadence, you know, maybe constant twitching to twitch, pause, 3 twitches and pause, or, you know, sometimes they want it just really slow. Sometimes they want the baits down deeper where they feel more comfortable from predators, especially like, you know, hawks, and we get bald eagles around here. Oh, dang it, I don't have my net. All right. And I've also got a swim bait right here rigged up on a jig head that I can work on bottom, bouncing it along all the rocks and everything under the water. Then of course I got the old Whoppy Plop, which I'll use in this more calm water where they can really see it well, get a good beat on it, come up and crush it, hear it well. And since the water's pretty clear, I have more one of the translucent ones. So like translucent trout type. Here's a high spot in the middle of the river. A lot of times the smallies will hug the sides of that, because as it dips down on the other side or the side that I'm on, or if it has some little depressions in it, they can just hide in those depressions and again wait for bait fish, and as the bait come by, just ambush them. They're not the most intelligent of creatures, but they're smart enough to know an easy meal when they see it, and to always have an eye out for those easy meals. All right, we haven't gotten anything from the middle of the river on the current breaks, so now we're gonna try the sides. We got cows. I like this. It looks like the depth drops off pretty good right off this bank. Bass really like it when they have access to deeper water. Something they can go to if you know, predators start chasing them. You know, something, you know, like a fail-safe. They can chase the bait in the morning, and then either if they feel uncomfortable or the water starts warming up and makes them too hot, or they're not liking the amount of sunlight they're getting, you know, whatever, they can go that deeper water and it makes them feel safer and more secure. The only thing that might be hurting me this morning is that we still have this cloud cover. Smallies like the bright sun. But I think once that sun comes out, I think it'll be game on. So we also have a low pressure system on its way. It's supposed to get storms starting tomorrow, I believe through the weekend. So that pressure is dropping, and a lot of times that can help your odds. And that low pressure will make it more likely that the fish will bite. A lot of times when you're river fishing, it helps to go towards the deeper side of the river, which right now is this side, but here in a little bit I'll move over to the other side. See kind of some disturbance in the water up here. After that disturbance, I'll move over to the other side. The biggest thing is just be flexible. You can go in with a with an idea of what you think the fish are doing, but don't try to force feed them. If they're not liking your presentation, then they're probably looking for something else. Just switch it up, figure out what they want, and it's hammer time. Sometimes that's just a change in cadence, not necessarily a lure change. Alright, I'm gonna go the other side. Now, as you see, until I get that first bite, or at least get some follows, something that'll give me a clue as to what the bass are doing. I'm just gonna be switching top water, high water column, low water column. One thing you can do with the Super Fluke, you can toss it over in an area where there's some water coming around rocks and stuff, and just let it go down into the water. Let it get down, you know, mid to lower water column, and let it tumble with the current. That was cool. So I was talking about how to do it, and this guy came up and just slurped it right up. Oh, buddy. grab my net. Grab me by the head. All right. First fish, nice one. All right, so maybe they just want it really slow. And something else you can do when you're fishing these flukes, pay attention, because so it ate the back one. Did it eat the back one because I was just closer to it? Or did it like the pearl white better? Maybe it showed up a little bit better, maybe it was more visible, maybe it sinks down faster. There's all sorts of things that it could be. So don't be afraid to play with stuff, especially the color. And it came right on the edge of those rocks as it was coming around. I was just letting it drift in the current. So maybe that's the key. Maybe it's just gonna be a kind of slow, let it sink, let it drift, let it tumble kind of day. Give it twitches to get it, you know, away from the rocks and the foliage that's down there, all the vegetation that can make it hang up. And here's another rock, so I'm gonna let these guys just tumble down along with it. See if I get another one. And that's what you do. You know, one bite could be a fluke, but 2 or 3 bites is a pattern. Play around with it, see what the fish are telling you. If they bite something, try that same thing in spots that are like it, and then adjust from there. Figure out what the pattern is, what they're mainly keying on, and then do small fine-tuning adjustments. Figure out the pattern within the pattern. You know, are they on the deep edge? Are they on the shallow edge? Are they going after this color or that color? Do they want it at this fall rate? Do they want it this deep? You know, that's where you can really refine, and then once you get that down, you can pretty much call your shots. So now I'm just letting it tumble along that line of rocks right there. Give it a twitch, kind of keep it out away from the rocks. Just slightly stay in water. I can see plenty well to come out and get it. That smallie wasn't shy. That is a great sign for today. Especially when they drift out of sight, be ready to set the hook, or at least lean into them. If you got treble hooks, you don't have to do a big old hook set if you have trebles. But if you have single hook like I'm using, be ready to set that hook and get them out of there, because they'll take it and they'll run right under those rocks. Throw this a few times, just make sure that you're not sitting deeper around these rocks and all this sand. And these areas are good where there's just a ton of rocks, a ton of disturbance on the water, because there's eddy after eddy after eddy after eddy. Tons and tons of oxygen in the water, which lets those bass be aggressive and also pulls in a lot of bait fish. So these are good areas to really fish fast. These big stick-ups like this log, perfect ambush spots. But they can be hard to get to sometimes because that water will flow so fast over them. And then it might not create a great eddy on the down current side. Just sample those river eddies. I'm always looking for followers, because if I get a bunch of followers, it means that I'm doing something right. And if they just follow and don't commit, then I've at least got part of the puzzle put together. Oh, see, there's one. Alright, that time he went after the front one. It's a nice little 1-pounder. But he was aggressive. He was over here in the shallow water going after it. He did not mind it going fast. So that's a great sign. Sometimes you can throw above the rocks, let it drift down below the rocks, and it looks really natural and just does that tumbling thing like I talked about earlier. If they're in that eddy, they'll see it and they'll absolutely hammer it, because it just looks so natural, like a dead or dying bait fish just coming down the stream. Another big river eddy, some rocks. So that second fish came charging out of shallow, fast-running water. And it came after the one on the front, even though the one on the back is more visible. I might change colors on that back one. But the bigger one did get the one on the back. So maybe it was just something about the front one that smaller fish liked a little bit more, or something about the back one that the first fish liked a little bit more. Time will tell. Oh, dang it. Broke me off. So they've seemed to like the faster moving water today. So that is where I'm gonna fish. A lot of times these river fish can get in these types of areas with these, you know, not crazy bad rapids, but just rapid enough. They'll get in here and they'll be aggressive and get to play bumper boats. All right, I swapped that back one to a watermelon red flake. See if they like the more natural color. I still have some of that white and silver flash up on the top one. And that's one of the advantages of two baits, is you can see where they go after. If they're going after one more than the other, well, that's the color they probably want. All right, something big just jumped up over here. Got muskie in here too. Big, whatever it is. Oh, muskie. Very nice muskie. You got me excited, little guy. Thought you was a muskie. Not quite. I still like you though. Number 2 in the boat. That's funny. Alright, I switched up to this little craw imitating bait. Ned rig style. So it'll get down there quick and it's pretty snagless. You're fishing a lot of rocks and a lot of logs and everything. It's really good to have something that doesn't get snagged up easy. I'm using this to just probe some of this cover that we have here along the side to see if there's smallies lurking, and if there are, then awesome. If there are not, then in my view even better, because that means they're probably more active and wanting to chase. Well, with these kinds of baits, don't just blindly set the hook on anything that stops, or you know, you feel a little tick or anything. Make sure that there's a fish on that line. And how I do that is I just hold my rod tip up, keep some tension on it. If it feels like you're pulling it through sand, that's a fish. Or if you feel a pull on your line after you put some tension on it, and you know it's up off the bottom a little bit, that's not, you know, just coming through some brush or over some rocks. Feel that tick when you know that it's not near anything that it can be just bouncing off of, well, then that's a fish. Especially that whenever you go pull up on it and it's coming up, but if you feel like it's coming through sand, you definitely feel the weight of something on it, you know, like a wad of grass or a wad of leaves or something like that, and you just feel a bunch of resistance, then that's a fish. Okay, there's a little guy up in the shallows. Oh dang, another good one in there. looks like wood. All right, number 3 in the boat. Not getting them as fast as I typically would prefer, but getting decent size, so that's awesome. Let's see if I can pull another one out of here. The other one might not bite because it saw the boat. It looked like that smallie kind of came up and hit it as it was dropping. That still tells me that they're pretty aggressive, which I mean, have you met a smallie? One thing I love about smallies, they're just so aggressive all the time. So it seems either shallow running water or 3 to 5 foot deep and calmer water around structure. So those might be the patterns for today. No. Felt the weight coming up with it. I was like, oh, that might be something. It was something, all right. There's a fish stick. All right, here's one more sporty rapids. So I'm just gonna throw my life jacket on just in case. Don't ever underestimate the power of water. Oh, there was another one chasing it from the shallows. Oh, I just spooked a couple of good smallies. Oh, I chomped it, but didn't get a hook. Oh my goodness, missed it again. Whee! And for rapids, all you have to do is guide the nose of your kayak. Don't fight the current, because you will lose. Water is much stronger than you are. So just guide your nose away from or over the rocks or in between them. And a lot of times your kayak will naturally drift to the current and away from the rocks, just because that's the path of least resistance. And you'll be all good. So a little bait fish jumping out there. So there might be some biggie smallies out there chasing. There, number 4. I'm counting it. No, I'm not. It's got to break the plane. Goodness, those stairs go all the way up to that house. Whew. Don't skip leg day. Right. Got some protein bar. We got some wind. There's number 4, broke the flame. Easy. Alright, number 4 in the boat. Come up shallow. Maybe they just like that super bright chartreuse on the back of the green pumpkin red flake. Number 5. Alright, number 5. Oh goodness. Looks like I'm in a mountain-made wind tunnel. I had all of today and tonight and half tomorrow. I'd appreciate that wind giving me plenty of time to fish these spots, but unfortunately I don't have that kind of time. Hey, 6. Okay. Alright, bitty bitty. Looks like in these faster, deeper areas, they might be hanging out more towards the bottom. Hopefully this island will give me a little bit of a respite from the wind. Maybe not. I hope I was recording. I got my 7th one. Like a decent 1.5 pounder or so. Alright, so what do we know so far? We know there are plenty of bass looking to eat. There are plenty smaller bass, shallow, some with decent size, and they're aggressive. But I also know that we've seen quite a few ones of some size a little bit deeper and on the sides near current breaks. Still targeting these eddies, but also really focusing on current breaks on the sides, especially in deeper water. Another decent smallie. Super red eyes, goodness, look at those. Pretty fish. So number 08, dragging this guy by some rocks, so maybe they're holding a little bit deep. He could have very well crushed a super fluke or a top water if I ran it by. Maybe they want the deeper stuff. Oh goodness, this wind. It is not 12 miles an hour. That's a big spider. I don't know if y'all can see or not, but there's a big smallie down here. There's a whole bunch of, it looks like bait fish down in there. I think they're way too big to be fry. I don't think it's fry garter. I think it's just a smallie chowing down on some bait. Let's carry on. There's another follow that I just got. Here's another tip for you. Whenever you're working with 2 baits, you can put one of them on that's like a bright color, like a pearl white like I have on right now, or a chartreuse or something like that, or a darker color that's more easily seen in the clear to lightly stained water. That way you can just watch it come in, and I know my other bait's about, you know, 6 to 8 inches or so behind it, and helps me really keep track of where my lures are in the water, and also watch for followers, especially in this kind of environment. Whenever I'm approaching rapids and I have to, you know, look downstream, see if I'm going to hit any rocks, then turn back, try to see if I see my baits, that sort of thing. Yeah, a bunch of fry in the water right there too, so I might be able to toss right into here, get any fish that are kind of eyeballing them. There's one. Oh, and there's a clue for us. Looks like it's got some crawfish antenna down in its throat. Thank you, buddy. And thank you for the clue. Looks like they might be chewing on crawfish, which makes sense because crawfish are an excellent source of protein for them for the spawning season and the post-spawn. I'm trying to throw into the darker areas, all the little hidey holes, because probably where the smallies will set up ambush, and that's probably where the crawfish will hide out, under the rocks and in all the little hidey holes. Since we're in shallow water now, I'll use the super flukes. Oh, that was number 10. It's alright. We've developed a bit of a pattern now. Know what to fish in the different sections of the river. Oh, almost doubled up. There was one following them. There's 10. He's a little camera shy. Get his friend though. So that's something to watch out for. I purposely threw up behind where those two sides of the water come around that island, because a lot of times when the water comes back together, it'll dig out a little hole right behind the island and pieces of land and whatnot. So it's a great place for them to sit and ambush stuff, because when they got water from, you know, both sides of the island coming to them and bringing them their food. Be on the lookout for those whenever you're out fishing. These smallies just love commotion. See if this other smallie will come get my other lure. Nope, just one. Oh, number 11. There's another one. Okay. Rocks. Don't be shy. Man, dang near came out of the water for the first time. You can get it a second time. I believe in you. I can fish this pretty quickly in here. Just cast him a target. Let this thing down. Get it more line if I need to. Watch for the line to twitch. Kind of twitch it to me some. Because these smallmouth have been aggressive. If they're in the area and I start twitching it, then they should get it. I can bring it over all these rocks. This thing down, bring it over next rock, sink down, next rock. Whoa, that was a fish. Some come up and get all of that. Alright, number 30 dozen. Thanks, bud. It looks like a lot of them now are coming from the edges. Kind of like what I said earlier. The edges, moving water, use a super fluke, kind of a little bit calmer water. Use the Ned rig. And that's just for today. Don't, you know, don't take that as gospel saying that, oh, this is how it's going to be every single day. No. The lakes and rivers can change day to day. I could be catching them out in the middle on the rocks and stuff tomorrow. Like I had another one come up and hit hit it, just didn't get a hook in it. Even though I thought it did. But it could be entirely different tomorrow. Especially since we're gonna have some weather moving through tomorrow. But you'll notice that I like to fish out here, fish the way that I'm fishing right now. It's usually a high percentage area, and also it allows me to power fish. I don't like dragging stuff. If I have stuff like back there where I was just tossing to a target, hop it a few times, toss another target, hop it a few times, I have stuff like that, I'm fine with that, because that's like power finesse. But I do not like just dragging and dragging and dragging. Sometimes I gotta do it just because that's what I gotta do on that specific day, but that is not my idea of an ideal day. Looked like you sucked it in, then spit it right out. Come on, get that hook. Still aggressive though. Oh, almost got him. Nipped it. All right, I'm retied. And I've got a craw imitating Ned rig now. Some good old watermelon red. Whoa, what was that? That was weird. Alright, what is this, number 13? Oh. Get through my thing. Oh, it's almost bad. Why ain't tell me about that tree? Oh dear. Ooh, that is not sturdy. I am very glad I did not lean on that. I would have taken a bath. Oh, rockfish, rock bass. Yeah, counted. It's got bass in its name. It's 14. Whatever the species of some fish is. I don't know. Going after them, they're just having trouble getting that hook. Across the plane. What's that? 15? Oh, kick in. Goodness. I'd be probably over 25 if they all got hooks in them. That's good fish. Nice little fish. Number 15. Fish is like, who you calling little? That was a good fish. Number 16. Fried chicken hawks. No guy. Nice guy. Aggressive guy. Go get big. What was that? An oisel? Watch out for them oisels there. Vicious creatures. Oh dear. I'm liking this really good because there's a pretty steep drop off right at the bank. And there's a lot of rock in here. Oh. I'm gonna miss it. They're nice. Golly. That little guy. Very nice. What was that? 18? 18 or 19. We'll call it 18. Crushed it up there in the rapids. So that one was in the kind of eddy area in front of the rocks. Not behind. That's another place that you can find them. Obviously. You were looking at them. They're starting to get pretty aggressive. They're just not fully committing. $19. No guy. Take him. Dang it. How did it miss? Oh, that was a good fish too. That's a heartbreaker. Yeah, still have my hooks on. Oh, I rigged it up fishless. I meant to rig it up weedless. That must be it. Whoa, look at that oisel. Ah, you distracted me from my 20th fish, oisel. I told you, oisels are awful creatures. They distract you from fishing. They make you throw your lures into trees. Sounds like dang predators are in the trees. And yes, that was me. It was not a Hollywood sound effect. Want me to do it again? Oh, there's two predators and they're talking to each other. Hey, there's number 20. All right, there's number 20. See you, buddy. 21. 21. Alright, liking the white in these low light conditions. I'm 22. Alright, well, I'm gonna fish my way in, but there you have it. We had a great day. 22 bass, if I counted right, which I probably didn't because I never do, but somewhere around that. I'm sure I will put the actual score on the screen somewhere. It was a great day, lots of fun. Found some aggressive fish. I used some techniques that I haven't used this year, I don't believe. All right, so I started out this morning with the Whopper Plopper and the Super Fluke donkey rig. That wasn't really doing much, so I swapped to that jig head with a paddle tail swim bait on the bottom of it. That wasn't really working either, and I was using that to get further down into the water column, but it just wasn't getting down far enough with this quick moving current. So I moved from that to the Ned rig and was going between pretty much that and the Super Fluke whenever the situation dictated, and had some success with both. So stuck to them the rest of the day, and did pick up that one fish on the Whopper Plopper when I was throwing it at that muskie, which that would have been interesting had I hooked it. It's all about current breaks and figuring out, you know, are the fish wanting to be deep, or are they wanting to be shallow, or, you know, somewhere in between. Figuring that out and then dialing it in from there. I hope y'all learned something. I hope you had fun watching. If you enjoyed it, give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll throw plenty of tips and tricks your way as I make more videos. This was a blast for me. I've been waiting all winter to get back out here, and looks like the bass are aggressive and they are ready to see me. And maybe give them a few more weeks, and then they will be in full post-spawn mode and not guarding fry like we saw a few doing today, and they'll be ready to bite, and it'll be game on. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate it. Take care. Tight lines. We'll catch you later.